Hello, and thank you for joining me today to discuss my final research paper for the Communication Fluency Master's Degree course at Queen's University. It's entitled Fear and Overcoming It as Taught by Forrest Gump. So what we'll do today is summarize the paper together and see how different types of fear Forrest encountered in the film compared to fear as it is portrayed in seemingly much different films, and how it all comes together to provide what communication theorist Kenneth Burke referred to as equipment for living. In the film An Inconvenient Truth, former Vice President Al Gore lays out the case that Earth's climate is changing and our planet's future is in jeopardy. I stated in my research paper that as a viewer of this film and as a resident of Earth, you cannot help but feel powerless and afraid of the strong cataclysmic rhetoric resonating from this film. Now, Forrest Gump is a child that requires braces on his legs due to how his backbone was aligned. He not only learned how to use his legs without the braces, but he became an incredibly fast runner to the point where he could outrun bullies that made fun of him, receive a scholarship to play football at the University of Alabama, and survive intense fighting in Vietnam. He also had people close to him with significant issues like drug and alcohol abuse, and he overcame these issues by staying true to himself and loyal to them, and this at the end would help them overcome their fears. The movie The Exorcist also provides a literal demon that possessed someone, and this can also create fear because people have figurative demons in their lives, I argue. So again, Forrest Gump's faith in his friend Lieutenant Dan and his love, Jenny, helped them overcome their aforementioned demons. Further, when Forrest was in Vietnam, his best friend Bubba died in his arms. And yet, Forrest stayed true and did what him and Bubba talked about doing, which was opening a shrimp company. And when that company became successful, he brought money to Bubba's family. Forrest's love interest Jenny had a tyrannical ruler that hovered over her literally as a child and figuratively as an adult, her abusive father. Just like in the film V for Vendetta, which stoked a repression of fear, Forrest had Jenny's childhood home bulldozed at the end of the movie because he knew the fear that Jenny faced from her abusive father. And ironically, Forrest always provided Jenny with equipment for life, and she never realized it until the very end, right before she passed away. The final film I'll sync with Forrest Gump is Batman Forever, in the sense that the Batman character in this particular film was sanitized, as the producers thought that would be better for business. Lieutenant Dan and Jenny were sanitized by the end of Forrest Gump as well, because they, like the Batman character in Batman Forever, they were just too dark of figures. Forrest Gump, then, was the antithesis to Lieutenant Dan and Jenny. He never let them become as dark as the movie suggests that they were or would have been. So in my research paper, I discussed the methods I would use to see if Forrest Gump really provides ways to overcome different types of fear and thus provides equipment for living. So what I would do is conduct a focus group, and the participants would be 30 to 45 years old and would have to meet the following criteria. They would confirm that they've watched Forrest Gump on at least 2 occasions, indicate they're avid movie viewers, and be socially and environmentally conscious. So within 3 days of the focus group, each participant will be asked to view the following movies: Forrest Gump, The Exorcist, V for Vendetta, An Inconvenient Truth, and Batman Forever. Each participant would be asked to answer the following questions using a 10-point scale, with 10 meaning absolute agreement and 0 meaning no agreement whatsoever. And so we can see the questions here on the screen, and questions 1, 3, and 7 suggest that fear is in the eyes of the beholder. And questions 4, 6, and 8 suggest that fear can usually be presented in the same way and will be interpreted similarly by most people. And questions 2 and 5 have no real bearing on either concept. So if the average of the scores for questions 1, 3, and 7 is higher than the average of the questions 4, 6, and 8, then the data would suggest my argument that fear is a subjective term is accurate. And if that is true, and the average of the scores for question 9 is equal to or greater than the median option, which of course is 5 on the scale, It could be argued that films like Forrest Gump, which stoke fear and feature the main character overcoming each scenario that causes fear, can therefore provide equipment for living. So, as Forrest Gump exhibits and the focus group should suggest, fear in all of its different forms is ultimately in the eyes of the beholder. And this is key for filmmakers to understand. Fear is a mentality, and whether by choice or how you were made, as is apparently the case of the character Forrest Gump, film producers should exhibit an understanding of human emotions in the sense of how the director did with the movie Forrest Gump. And most illustrating at this point is the human emotion of fear exhibited when Forrest Gump spoke to his mother on her deathbed, and even more so when he spoke to Jenny's grave towards the end of the movie, which I suggest you look up if you haven't seen before, because I don't want to make you cry during this presentation today. And if you've seen the movie, then you certainly know what I'm referring to. But team, thank you very much for joining me today, and talk to you very soon. Thanks. Bye.